Like the pre-kids, like 4.
Did you have lunch?
We don't. And
Do you want some
need
soup?
to. The problem, it's not the problem.
It's too much. I'm not gonna eat it.
We need good staff who are really going to deal with that.
Yeah,
But no,
it's
we
the bean
need
soup.
to.
It's really, really good. But it's
I got off last night.
I didn't hear you.
That is. So let's go.
What's up, Prez? How we doing? That was a good event yesterday.
It was a good turnout, but basically, even in the room, it was just, they told us there was no dialogue.
Yeah.
Oh, the I-81 thing? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just people making.
Yeah, and he made a commitment to us. So this Schumer and Gillibrand, so that's all I guess we can go on, right?
Yeah.
And hold to their commitment.
Yeah.
Tell us what you did. That didn't happen.
Yeah, totally. There wasn't much back and forth. There wasn't much substance really. Just a lot of vague promises, but that's good.
It was.
Better than saying them.
I saw you standing on the rock.
Yeah, I was getting some good snaps.
But who was it?
Yeah, we were chatting.
Getting some good snacks.
Yeah.
I think Mayor Peter's so adorable. He is so adorable.
That. Yeah.
Smart too, and he listened very intently.
And you're what? Oh.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Corey. No. And the lady about that garage. That lady is driving me nuts. What about that garage?
Here. We're here.
Come back to that lady.
Hey, you gotta get started. Is it real? Is it time started? Does Joe Driscoll know it's 1 o'clock?
Yeah. Put his house, yeah.
According to Don, we could invite a few extra people if they wanted.
Is it on? Okay, folks, we're gonna start the Parks Committee, Standing Committee, and we have the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation here. Commissioner, why don't you go through your items for our agenda?
Good afternoon. So I have, the first one, the chip truck, that one is being held for the next meeting.
Okay.
Because I need to do a little bit more work on that one. I have the next two items. We want to authorize our first two ARPA projects from the funds. The first being $175,000 so that we can do a total replacement of the fence around Pass's Arboretum, which is, if you've driven past, desperately in need of.
That's an excellent idea.
And the other item is $800,000 so that we can expedite and get done the Burnett Park pool, because this is the second summer it's going to be closed. If we can authorize these funds, then we can get it done so that next year the pool can be open. That's the plan.
I neglected when I started this meeting, I did not mention that I'm joined by Councilor Paniagua and President Hudson. Well,
I'm Joe Driscoll.
and Councilor Driscoll.
So far away, Hogan.
I know, it is. East side, west side, isn't it?
That's it.
Okay, so are there any questions about the first two items from my fellow councilors?
Nope, both sound good.
Hearing none, you can go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, there is another ARPA project, which actually Owen Kearney is in charge of, so I'm going to let him pass it over.
Thank you, Commissioner. Owen Kearney with City Planning, and in coordination with Commissioner, we are requesting appropriation of ARPA funds for a pavilion as part of a project in Meacham Park. We have recently begun constructing a project in Meacham adjacent to Onondaga Creek, right along Seneca Turnpike. It's going to be an overlook of the creek. Part of that project, and basically.
Folks, excuse me, we're trying to conduct a meeting here. Okay, go on ahead. Go ahead, Owen.
Sure thing. These funds would be used to supplement that project and to add a covered pavilion area as part of that project. So happy to answer any questions about that, but it's essentially sort of expanding that project, including this covered area that the public can use as part of our current project.
This was originally, Owen, this was originally in the plan years ago, right?
That's
Right, and I was gonna say that, Counselor, because this was not a new conversation.
that you're both correct. This was part of the original project. It was omitted due to cost, and we are essentially putting it back into the project. So this is something that, as I think you all are familiar with, we had broad public support for this project. And we're looking to really bring it back to what we set out to do, and these funds would allow us to do that.
What's the cost?
The appropriation is $55,000, and that would essentially facilitate the purchase of the prefabricated pavilion and the installation of that also.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues? Sure. Go ahead.
So when we went back over this, the Council Holden was part of the council. It was supposed to be canoe launch from that end as well?
I didn't hear you, Council President. There was supposed to be a...
Kayak.
Oh, yes, for access to the creek. One of the things that we are doing that's in the current project is access down to the banks of Onondaga Creek. So there isn't a formal kayak launch, something
That was all part road into what we had discussed down.
That is correct, and that is part of our current project. The only addition is this pavilion, and the appropriation of the funds would be limited just to the pavilion.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, next.
Thank you.
I keep looking back because the next two are for Steve Harris, who thinks this was an online meeting, so he's on his way. But no, so he would like to authorize the annual CIP funds for tree planting, and if you have specific questions, he should be here momentarily.
Mr. Harris was not the only person who thought that.
And then an annual waiver to request work to be done by Cornell Cooperative Extension, and again, he can come here and he'll be here momentarily if you can wait a few minutes to explain if you have any questions on that one.
These are great programs, and if we have any questions when he gets here, we'll interrupt you and...
Those are all my items, though.
Those are all your items? Okay. Like President Hudson,
I have a
shoot.
question that's not related to this. I just asked you because you have been keeping me updated. Where are we with Wilson Park?
So we did the immediate cleanup that we could do. As far as capital,
Have we put any money in for capital for Wilson?
we can, but I want to be careful just because we have the 81 project that's going to severely impact that, and actually, they're going to get a new splash pad, they're getting a new basketball court. We are going to do improvement of the playground surfacing, but if you want to have a neighborhood meeting, we can with them, but I don't want to put work that's going to be...
I get it, but 81 is 2 years out.
Right.
And I don't want to deny these children in that community the opportunity to be able to use their playground because we're waiting on 81 to come.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that they have some of the same amenities that other parks have in Wilson Park for those kids.
They have a playground, I absolutely understand, and we're just now getting into the building, and we're just now gonna be welcoming the children back here next week, so we can talk with them, see if there's immediate things we can do that won't interfere with when the new basketball court comes, and when the
even
new splash
safety
pad
hazard
comes.
With the fence. That fence is a straight safety hazard. 'Cause when
Okay, so that's interesting, so the fence, I thought we could remove it too, because to me, I didn't know if it's actually serving a purpose. You mean there's the fence?
Where people can climb through in all them holes and get snagged and cut up.
Do you mean the fence to get into the pool?
No, it's the fence that's on the outline of right outside of where the building is, and it comes around to where, by the basketball court, and in that fence, there's all kinds of little cutouts.
So there's a fence there, so if you have time after this, could we schedule a time and I'll meet you on site so we can see it together? But I looked at also the fence that, because it seems to be a pointless fence, as far as recreation activities. There's a fence, there's the basketball court, and then there's the playground, and then there's what used to be some kind of court that's going to eventually be a basketball court, but there's a fence there. And to me, I don't know if it's not used for basketball, if it's holding basketballs in it, but in speaking with Johnny Tooks, who's the community center director there, he said it absolutely is needed, the fence, because it keeps out the neighborhood. So we just need to probably replace that fence.
For the health part, the safety part of it, because
Right.
the wrong person clawed through that hole, they're
Correct.
going to get cut.
If I have a lot of availability this week, though. If you want, as soon as
That's
this
fine.
ends, we can find a time and I'll meet you there whenever it works for you.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just in time, here's Steve. But if you have any other questions about programming, though, please let me know.
Hey, with an umbrella, it's raining. And I love my umbrella.
Hi, Steve.
Here's your CIP.
So I guess we leave the soup? I guess we finish up our lunch.
President Hudson, Councilor Hogan,
Thought it was parks, but
I have,
either one.
so the first item is to get in better condition, running up steps.
Catch your breath, okay?
We want to authorize $160,000 in capital dollars for tree planting. This is our traditional tree planting program. Plant in our neighborhoods. You know, we have a new tree equity map, so we know where we need to plant the most. We know the hottest neighborhoods. We know, based on demographics and canopy cover, where we should prioritize, and this program will help do that. We still only plant where property owners approve. That's our planting program.
Is it more than usual?
Are we planting more than usual? Yeah. I mean, since Save the Rain ended 2 years ago, we have definitely scaled back, but the demand is there. And hopefully with the mayor's desire, we're going to get back up to those recently historical planting rates.
Well, the question, I mean, you know, I've seen your video on urban tree cover, and it's outside, Steve.
Excuse me.
And it really points out the disparity in some of our neighborhoods as far as tree cover and how it affects the neighborhoods, the life of the neighborhoods, and as far as socially goes. And so I was wondering why we wouldn't spend more. Do you have the ability? You're only one person, but how come we don't spend more ARPA money if ARPA money is eligible for tree planting? I guess that's a question I would ask Corey on that.
Well, I mean,
you have the resources. If there was more money allocated to this program, would you be able to spend it or not?
and we're going to get those pending council approval with the American Rescue Plan funds that were allocated to roll out the Urban Forest Master Plan. I just haven't come to you with those yet.
So there'll be an additional funding.
That is correct.
Tree planting, okay.
Yep.
I can handle that.
Yeah.
And there'll be some of those targeted neighborhoods that you pointed out succinctly in the.
It'll be a combination of street tree planting, hopefully a little blight busting, like overgrown, troublesome vacant lots that we clean out, make them nice and, safe, easy to see, and then plant trees in a more orderly fashion.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Questions? Of course I do. Of course I do. Okay, so let me ask you about this. People know I spend a lot of time riding. Inner Harbor is one of my favorite spots.
Uh-huh.
All those poor little trees in Inner Harbor are bending over, because I watched them
Yep.
at one point just come down. They just started collapsing. Do we replant in the Inner Harbor?
Are you talking around the parking lot or along the creek walk? We were asked to go over there recently to help with, there's a lot of trees that are grown really low and you can't see and you can't walk by. So we're starting to prune those.
I saw the pruning, but I'm talking
yeah.
about the trees.
Like bringing back what we've lost over the last
Storm
2
came
decades.
through, I watched trees just fall.
Yeah.
They just fell.
We can and will do that, kind of right now we're responding
I was
more.
just curious if you guys did the
Yeah,
same thing.
I'm very excited with a new landscape architect coming on board. They're going to help us plan our spaces better, including what vegetation to remove and what to put back. And that certainly is a priority of ours. This is hopefully a time where we're really looking at the landscape on our parks. Yeah.
Question for you, because I've noticed a lot of our crew. Do we clean up Coors property as well? Because it looks like we're cleaning Coors property.
You noticed our parks crews doing that? It's funny, when we were just walking through there too, there is a portion of it that is ours. I can't say for sure, I will ask them. Actually, we'll just make sure that our staff are aware where the property lines are, because there's state property in there as well.
Right, but I watched them on Iron Pier's property, and I'm sitting there watching our property cutting. And
There's a good chance they don't have the survey line, so we can make sure that they are aware where their responsibilities start and where they end.
I will say, Corps has mowed down the tall reeds that are along the creek there where their new building is. Phragmites, it's called. They have, I asked them if they would mow that, and they mowed that down at their cost. But I think their property begins 10 feet west of the creek walk.
President
10 to 15.
Steve, there are plans with the administration. We're going to have, there's a significant amount of land that was previously owned by the Canal Corporation to ensure public access to the harbor. And the city is on the verge of acquiring that, correct? So we'll probably see a lot more city activity.
And you know what, maybe I should have been a little more precise. I'm not talking on the trail part. I'm talking, I run around and then sit in my car in the parking lot. I'm talking on that parking lot side. That's ours, correct? Right, so on that side, I've seen our people actually clearing up Iron Pier. So I'm just curious. They probably need to know the boundaries.
I will pull the boundary map too, just to send it to you, just to make sure we're on the same page so that I can show you exactly what we are going to inform our staff is ours. And then also if what I've circled is, and if you want to point out to me where they're cleaning, we'll make sure that that's done by
I'm
court.
not trying to be a stickler, but
No, listen, if we can clean less places, we'll clean less places.
it's not our job to clean a private apartment building, so.
Yes.
The next one is a bid waiver for $5,000 to enter into an agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension to do urban ag programming for us. With this, they work in numerous community centers, including Seals, Wilson, with a couple schools to get us into our parks, to do some winter programming as well. We weave it into a lot of things. It gets the master gardeners to help do some summer gardening. It's our last and only bid waiver item. Part of the reason it's a small dollar amount to put an RFP out, so that's why we sought that.
Any questions? I have none. Thanks for being here, Steve.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess next is that you, Janet? It is. Okay. I guess this is on part of the Parks agenda. This is about ARPA money and, well, why don't you I'll let you explain.
I apologize for not being here earlier. I had understood that they were going to be under Councilor Panagua's committee. So these are two projects for ARPA funds. Under the deputy mayor is the person that's actually in charge of this project. And it's appropriating funds this year for the United Way and for Syrup. And I think all of you I had sent with the review of what Syrup is, so you can see that. And what it is to pay stipends for young people from the ages of 10 to 18, and working with all kinds of different agencies on different enrichment things. And I also attached those on the back of the letter too, so you can see what agencies exactly are involved.
How many kids get to participate?
I'm sorry?
How many kids get to participate?
In 2 years, it's going to be a total of 1,804
Wow.
young people, about half and half
You say
each
age
year.
10?
Pardon me?
What were the ages?
10 to 18.
I thought you said 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so there is some young people, there are enrichment things for the young people too.
So we provide enrichment programs for the young people, and we pay some people, too.
No, it's
These are
stipends
all-
for everyone. Yep,
Well, I
stipend,
understand.
probably different, I honestly, I haven't seen the list of the stipends, but it's $5.99, I believe it's $5.99 for the older people and maybe $3.99 for the younger people?
Well, it's
Is it on the list there?
$2.99 and all sorts of stuff. This is a stipend type deal, I guess?
Yes.
And some of them are, there's all sorts of great programs here. I am a little concerned about how the accounting of all this money. Who keeps track of all this money that we give to these different entities?
We are in the process of hiring project coordinators for the ARPA money. So someone will be keeping track of the programming and working with SYRUP, who will be the fiscal, SYRUP is going to have the money, and then they will pay the agencies or the stipends to the agencies. And then,
That's the Syracuse Urban Partnership?
that's correct,
Okay. So the money goes to them, and then they pay people?
correct.
But, at some way, the money is from us through our ARPA money. Somewhere we're gonna have to keep.
Oh, certainly, there'll be reporting requirements to Syracuse Urban Partnership. They will report on where the money went.
Who gives them the reporting requirements?
The city will. We're actually, Michael Collins and I are working on reporting requirements for a lot of the projects.
Okay, so that's not a template yet.
Not yet.
That doesn't exist yet. Okay.
So these agencies apply for this money, or did we select the agencies?
My understanding is that all of these agencies actually did work with the Allen Foundation and Syracuse Urban Partnerships last year, and they're continuing that, and there may be a few extras, but I didn't know who was doing it last year. But apparently it was very successful last year.
This is the general youth program that Rashida is running.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so these are people that have been involved in similar programming before.
Correct.
But, there was no application process to be.
Not that I saw, but there may very well have been. I actually just came in and wrote the letter.
Some of it, Counselor, was through the HOPE money that we distributed for some of those youth and those that didn't go through the city. It came out of our HOPE money for last year's kids. The Impact-
Syracuse Greater Hope, yeah.
Yeah. The
Syracuse Greater Hope.
Poverty reduction, that we had the 2.7, and we used some of that for those kids.
Well, I'm not criticizing anything like that, but it's unfortunate.
I'm saying as far as accounting records, that would be under the United Way, because it came from Greater Syracuse Hope, some of that money.
Right, I understand that. What I'm saying is that, it's unfortunate that other entities weren't aware of this, if we're using the same people we used before. And second of all, I know and I had a brief conversation with Mr. Kaliva about the ARPA money, is that, the guidelines are still sort of fluid, and I'm worrying about all this money that we have and how we account for it at the end, knowing how federal programs are usually. So, I guess if everybody is comfortable with this, I'm not totally comfortable. Sure, absolutely. President.
Janet, so is this money, the money that's gonna be sent through CNY Works?
No, this is separate money from CNY Works.
Okay.
So to Councilor Hogan's point, will other agencies be able to also apply to participate if they wanted to?
I could certainly get that answer from the deputy
How
mayor.
about this, councilors? How about I'll call a Parks Committee meeting on
Okay.
this. When's this program supposed to start? When are these programs supposed to go into effect? Do we know?
Soon. I think as soon as they're running to do the programming this summer, so as soon as the council approves it.
Yeah, because the whole ARPA thing, and just having experience, as President Hudson, a bunch of us have had experience about federal money, I want to make sure we
Sure.
have some sort of template that we work through in as much as for accounting for that money.
Sure.
And now if we got the money seems to be happening from place to place, so I'm going to ask for I'll try to schedule a Parks Committee meeting on this. And as far as all of Commissioner LaFave's items, is everybody okay with them on the Parks Committee?
Yeah.
Councilor Driscoll? Sure.
Yep, everything else worked.
Is that a committee meeting for all the other two ARPA projects or just those ones?
This will be just a Parks Committee meeting on the proposal of, from the Syracuse Urban Partnership.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the,
So,
Hudson's got in under the
so,
wire again.
no, I just want to ask Parks Commissioner, question I asked you earlier, no, you ain't got to get up. Okay. So are we looking to do any programming for children that's 4, 5 years old?
This summer, no, but I would,
know,
yes,
but
we're always,
hopefully-
yes, we have to be careful because we don't want to we don't want to do a daycare, but just general programming, yes, we'd like to enter into that world.
Like 4, 5,
Yes.
6?
Right now, I think the only thing that we would offer normally would be swimming, so we're trying to expand that. With our we have the arts and crafts program that will be coming back, so we're looking at offering Saturdays there for youth of that age to come in, so yeah, if you have any specific programs you'd like to see, just let us know.
Okay, thank you. Or camps and make their mamas pay for it.
The camps are hard because then you have to get into you have to get the health department, child and family services, we have to have a medical person on site. It's a big jump, it's a big leap, but we can,
Okay,
Yeah.
just, okay.
Sorry.
No, I just should have took you to pay for my lunch.
Okay, I'll ask for an adjournment. Okay.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
All righty.
10 of
Back, and then you're gonna- Okay.